Hello, everybody, and welcome back to yet another fantastic Draft Expert YouTube video. This video will obviously be covering our Week 13 quarterback prospect rankings. I know you're sitting there like, Logan, why are you posting this on the Friday? The past couple of weeks, you've been posting this on a Saturday. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will inform you that there is a lot of college football going on this weekend, and a lot of those games are taking place on Friday with a lot of these not a lot, but I would say about 3 or 4 of the quarterbacks within this top 10 are playing on Black Friday, so I felt like I had to get this out earlier than I normally do. We got the blog post out on Wednesday, so you want to go check that out on the LoganBlackmanShow.com or check out the link in the description. I would greatly appreciate that. You can get a little bit more in-depth analysis in the blog post, so I'd greatly appreciate if you guys go check out that. Thank you to everybody who's been following along with the series. I don't know if we're going to be doing one next. No, we're going to do one next week. We're going to have one next week for you. We didn't do a Week 14 last year because I feel like every quarterback, or at least most of the quarterbacks we had for Week 14, didn't really play last year. I don't know why that is. I don't know if I'm going crazy or if that's just how it ended up working out. I don't really remember exactly, but this year, I believe most quarterbacks will be playing this weekend. Or not believe. I know most quarterbacks will be playing this weekend. And before we get into the stuff we're going to talk about, make sure to go check out every link in the description down below. And also, I hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving, and I hope you all are excited for this weekend slate in college football. We got a lot of rivalry games this weekend. A lot of rivalry games. We got Iowa versus Nebraska. We got Michigan versus Ohio State. We have got Georgia Tech versus Georgia. We got Ole Miss versus Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. We've just got a lot of really fun games this weekend, and I'm excited to talk about our Week 13 quarterback rankings. I do apologize before we really get into this. I am a little bit sick right now, so I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little bit raspy. I hope it doesn't affect the video too much. At least I hope it doesn't. But maybe it makes me sound cooler. Maybe that's what happens. Maybe it doesn't affect the video in a bad way. Maybe it's a positive way, and everybody's going to look at this and go, wow, Logan, I wish you just sounded like that all the time. You sound so cool and suave. You should do that. You should get sick more often. Really. You should get sick a lot more often. But yeah, for my own personal well-being, I hope I don't get sick. But if you like it, maybe we could try something different. Maybe we could try something a little bit new. But I hope this video doesn't take too long, and I know every single time I say that, the video ends up being like 40 minutes long. And this weekend, all 10 quarterbacks in the top 10 were in action. So that kind of makes things a little bit more difficult. Last week we had I think we had 7 quarterbacks play last week. 2 weeks ago we had all 10 play, and now we're back to 10 this weekend. But before we get into the actual top 10, let's go in the honorable mention section first. Coming in at number 1, I guess you could say, even though it's just in alphabetical order. First by last name is Brady Cook from Missouri, 15 of 20, 268 and a touchdown with 16 yards on the ground in the 39-20 win against Mississippi State. 9 touchdowns, 2 picks on the season. He has been hurt a little bit this year. Obviously, got hurt in that game against Alabama. Drew Pine stepped in at quarterback, but Brady Cook, very solid quarterback, just hasn't been seeing the field a lot as of late, but he comes in at number 1, I guess, by last name. Noah Fafita is next on this list, 29 of 44, 284, 2 tuds, and an interception, a 49-28 loss to TCU. Not a great scoreline there. 49-28 loss on the road in conference play when you're battling for bowl eligibility. It's not necessarily the greatest idea in the world, not the greatest tactic to employ in the world, but out of all the other quarterbacks that played this past weekend, that's where the bar is at. That's where we're at right now versus the draft eligible quarterbacks. And I will say this before anybody gets mad, because I know someone's going to say it either on Instagram or someone's going to say it in a YouTube comment. It's going to happen regardless. Dillon Gabriel's not on this list. I know before you bring the pitchforks out and before you start trying to tear down my house and call me stupid and all that stuff, he did not play this past weekend. So he's not in the honorable mention section. I feel I could have thrown him in based on, again, Noah Fafita, if we were ranking this 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, he would be last. He's just barely in that conversation. But since Dillon Gabriel did not play, and we had a couple other quarterbacks on buys this week that are usually in this honorable mention section, so I left him out just so we could get bring some attention to some other quarterbacks in here. Maybe that's a stupid idea from my part, but it's not because of Dillon Gabriel's performances, because he didn't play. That is the only reason he's not on here. That's the only reason. So if anybody freaks out, I do apologize for him not being in here, because I know everybody loves Dillon Gabriel in the comment section and stuff like that, and I like Dillon Gabriel a lot too. But he's not in this particular blog post, but he should be back next week when we go over Week 14's rankings. Next on this list is Will Howard, 201, 2 tuds, and an interception against Indiana, 38-15. Obviously did the smoking the cig celebration, put it down and said, Google me after he did it. yeah, just a very resounding win for Ohio State. We'll obviously talk about this a little bit later in the video because we got Curtis Work coming up here in a little bit. But yeah, 22 of 26, 201, 2 tuds. Very solid performance from Will Howard in this game. Kyle McCord, the former Ohio State quarterback, comes at number 4, I guess, via last name order. 470 yards, 2 tuds, no interceptions. Also had a rushing touchdown, which is third rushing touchdown of the season, and a 31-24 win against UConn. And I know at face value, if you see UConn versus any other FBS opponent, doesn't matter who it is, you expect them to blow them out. But UConn's a fairly solid team this season, so looking at that game in a outside of the, I guess you could call it the usual lens. Again, if UConn's playing anybody with a pulse, they're usually losing that game by 20 points. At the minimum, 20 points. But this time they came to play. They were at home against Syracuse, who's very up and down as a team. I mean, remember a couple weeks ago against Pitt, where he had 5 interceptions. They ended up losing the game by 30 points. That's not necessarily the most ideal situation, but they're a very hot and cold team. And when they're clicking on offense, they click. Like Kyle McCord, again, 470 yards passing with 2 touchdowns in the win against UConn. 26 touchdowns on the season, 12 interceptions with 3,946 yards, damn near 4,000 yards. Impressive stuff. Definitely boosted up his credentials, I guess you could say, with this season at Syracuse. And last but not least, this is the first time he's been in the rankings this season. It is Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt. I wanted to throw him in because he's just fun. He's just really fun. I like Diego Pavia. 13 of 24, 186, and a touchdown, and a rushing touchdown against LSU in a 24-17 loss. We'll obviously talk about that game a little bit more with Garrett Nussmeier, but I like Pavia. He's not necessarily the biggest dude out there, but he's just fun. He's fun. He's been the face of Vanderbilt football this year and actually gave them, like, hope, I guess you could say. It's just fun. Diego Pavia is just a fun quarterback. He's hard not to root for. In this season, 16 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions to his name this season. Also has 671 rushing yards as well. But yeah, those are the honorable mentions for this week. Again, Brady Cook, Noah Fifita, Will Howard, and Kyle McCord, Diego Pavia come in at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. In whatever order you want to throw them in. Again, Dylan Gabriel's not on this list just because he was on a bye. That is the only reason he's not on here. I have to reiterate that, because there's people that will come after me if I don't mention why Dylan Gabriel, like, where's Dylan Gabriel? Why is he not on the list? That is exactly why he is on the list. But coming in at number 10 is Riley Leonard. I feel bad for these military schools. I mean, I loved the runs that they had. Like, going into week 6, they were both 6-0. Army and Navy. Their undefeated seasons both came to an end. I say come to an end. Came to a screeching halt against Notre Dame. They kicked the shit out of Navy in, was it Lincoln Financial Field? Was it in Philadelphia or Baltimore? I can't remember exactly where it was that game. Or no, it was MetLife. It was MetLife Stadium, wasn't it? But they came into that game, absolutely beat the crap out of them. And Army, same thing this week. They were 9-0 though. Number 19 in the country, played at Yankee Stadium, and Notre Dame rocking the ugliest uniforms they could have probably rocked that week. Came out with a nice resounding 49-14 win. Riley Leonard, 10 of 13, 2 touchdowns in the game. Only 30 yards on the ground as well, but this was a game where didn't really need to do a whole lot. If we're being 100% honest here, he had a very nice passing touchdown on the first drive of the game. Hit Jordan Faison for a 28-yard touchdown. There was no safeties in there. The corners were playing really far back. Once he saw the one-on-one matchup with Faison and the one-on-one matchup on an island on the outside, knowing that he's going to cut his route back outside as well, it was an easy touchdown. Easy throw, easy read, easy touchdown. Steps in the pocket, delivers a nice ball to him there. You also have a nice little throw to Mitchell Evans for an 18-yard game. They had like a couple reverse pitches and a pitch back to Riley Leonard where they came across formation, handed off to a receiver. He pitched back to Leonard, and Leonard hit Mitchell Evans for a nice 18-yard gain. Just fitting in a nice little gap between the Army defenders. It's not like an insane throw or anything, but with 2 defenders in the area like that, you can kind of get in a mindset. We kind of brought this up last week with Jalen Milroe versus Mercer with his throw to Jeremy Bernard, where there's a defender over top, and your mind is like, oh, the receiver's going down the field. You want to lead him down the field. But with the defender coming back over top, you got to put that more on the receiver's body. So A, he can get his head up and brace for the hit, and B, makes it an easier catch and not giving the defender a chance to make a play on the ball. Just floats it right in there. Very nice touch on the ball. Able to pick up a decent amount of yards in the play as well. That's the kind of throws that you like to see from Riley Leonard. Again, 10 of 13 from him in this game with 148 and 2 touchdowns. But the thing that sucks is that we want to see Army and Navy do well. The military schools, Army-Navy week is coming up, and that's one of the best games. It's the best game in college football. But the problem is when you're playing schools like Notre Dame and these bigger schools, these faster, bigger, tougher, colleges like Notre Dame and like the other big schools these teams usually play, they're hard to prepare against. Like Army and Navy are hard to prepare against. Triple option, I'm speaking from experience here. I ran the triple option in college. It's a very hard offense to defend. But the problem is when you defend it and when you key on the pitches and the reads and stuff like that, then it's the easiest thing to stop. If you're able to stop it, then it's easy to stop. But if you can't, it's damn near impossible to stop. That's the kind of the give and chase with the triple option offense. And that's why in games like this where you're playing bigger, faster, stronger teams, if they start keying in on it and you can't run the ball, then guess what? You're probably screwed because then you're going to start throwing the ball when it's obvious you're going to throw the ball, and then it just makes it easier to defend if that makes any sense. I don't know if it does, but that's the kind of situation that you're in with these types of games. That's why Army and Navy, though they're both undefeated going into games against Notre Dame, they got 100 piece combined. Like it's unfortunate that it happens, but that's kind of the situation that the offense runs into. Now, like you remember a couple years ago, I think it was Kyler Murray's Heisman unveiling at Oklahoma, and Army took Oklahoma to overtime, or close to overtime. I don't know if it was exactly overtime, but took them close to overtime. Like, if you're not prepared for that offense, and don't know how to scheme against it properly, then yeah, they can have those performances. But if you've prepared for it, and they can't run it to their exact specifications, then yeah, you're going to be able to stop it. And that's what happened in these games. And Notre Dame just had a very easy game. Riley Leonard left the game early, with Notre Dame up, I think, like 31 to 7 or something like that, or 38-7. I don't remember the exact score line when they left the game, but 38-7, I think, was the score. Just an easy game for Notre Dame, and Riley Leonard comes in at number 10. Number 9 is Curtis Rourke. He dropped one spot down. 8 for 18 is not necessarily the stat line I think Curtis Rourke was intending on. 8 for 18, 68 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions in a loss against Ohio State. Sacked a bunch in this game. I think he was sacked 5 times, and if he wasn't getting sacked, there was a defender in his face damn near every time he dropped back. The rain didn't help. It wasn't like a downpour or anything like we saw against Alabama and LSU, but there was some rain in the forecast of the game, but it was just not a great game. It was a rough game for Indiana. On every single front, it was a rough game. Like the special teams unit, they allowed a punt return touchdown. They had the fumble punt on the punter couldn't handle the ball when it got snapped back to him. It was just everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for Indiana. And I was rooting for Indiana hard in this game. I was rooting for them really hard because I wanted to see Indiana continue on their undefeated ways, especially with the win against Ohio State. It does not hurt my feelings to see Ohio State lose, especially to a team like Indiana who nobody was expecting to be in this situation. And that's why I don't care about Indiana's quote-unquote strength of schedule or strength of record or whatever, because it didn't matter. Like, no one thought they'd be undefeated at the beginning of the season. No one did. Not a single. I think most people at this point in the season thought they'd be around 6-5. I don't think anybody thought they'd be 11-1 or 10-1. Sorry, I don't think anybody thought that. So now that I see people bitching and moaning about how easy their schedule is, you didn't think they were going to be this good at the beginning of the year, so you can't really complain. It's like, oh, that's a pleasant surprise. They could have been playing the Sister of the Blind College 11 times, and I think they would get 500 around there. That's my thought process when it comes to Indiana football. But the thing was, they weren't just beating these teams. They were pile driving. Their only single-digit win this season was against Michigan 2 weeks ago. And Michigan's a very solid defensive unit who also got after Curtis Rourke. If you look at the 3 games where he's had, I guess, his quote-unquote worst performances, I guess you could say, it was when the defense was able to get after him and cause some problem, to throw off his rhythm and stuff like that. He was still able to make some decent throws throughout the game. You look at he had 2 third-down conversions on their first drive of the game. He had a 13-yard pass to Miles Price on 3rd and 6 or something, or 3rd and 9. And then he had Elijah Surratt on 3rd and 6. He hit him for 19 yards across the middle. Had a very nice throw from his own end zone to Surratt again for 9 yards on an out route. Like, he had some decent moments in this game, but Ohio State was just too much. They were like we talked about with Army and Navy. Like, Ohio State was just too big, too fast, too strong, and too good for Indiana in this game. It was too early for them to be playing these types of games, I guess you could say. Like, they're right there. They had the talent, but they're just not there to beat Ohio State. Ohio State's got too much talent. They got 5 stars backing up 5 stars. Like, we've talked about the skill position players they have on their roster. Like, it's just a never-ending list. You look at the defensive side of the ball, too. It's not just the offense. The defense got the same amount of players there, too. It just sucked to see. Like, this is what I thought would happen. In the back of my head, I obviously wanted Indiana to come out there and win. But in the back of my head, I was like, oh, it's going to be a double-digit loss for Indiana. It just is. You see these games, the writing's on the wall, really. It's in the horseshoe, one of the hardest places to play against the number 2 team in the nation, Ohio State, who's got one of the most talented rosters pound for pound in college football. It's probably not going to be a great game. But when Indiana scored, they were able to put some long drives together. They had I think 15-yard drive, 15 play drive to end the game. They had an early drive. Their first drive of the game went down the field very quickly. It was a long extended drive. But yeah, Ohio State's just too good. They're just too good. Indiana dropped all the way to 10 in the latest college football rankings, but I expect them to do better this week. They're playing Purdue. 11-1 or 10-1 versus 1-10. I expect Indiana to have success in this one. It's a night game for some reason. So, yeah, I expect Indiana to have no problems there. Number 8 is Jackson Dart. Moved him up one spot. I could have moved him up more, to be honest. I thought he played really well against Florida. I thought he played really, really well. 323 yards, 2 touchdowns. We'll talk about the interceptions later, but 71 yards on the ground as well. Like, you look at his first touchdown to Trey Harris. Just a beautiful ball down the middle of the field. Beautiful throw. Beautiful throw. Trey Harris in double coverage just leads him perfectly in the end zone for the easy touchdown. Easy score. And then you look at like a couple fourth down conversions. You have this throw to Jordan Watkins for 25 yards. Like, he's just able to stay calm. Jackson Dart's a very capable runner. So when the pocket breaks down around him, some quarterbacks with that kind of running, I'm not sitting here and saying like he's Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels or even Jalen Miller or Riley Leonard, but he can move. He's very capable. Again, 71 yards on the ground, nothing to sniff at in their game. When he's asked to make plays on the run, he can do that and more. But he stays calm in the pocket. You look at his second touchdown to Caden Lee, 22 yards, right over the middle of the field. Nice RPO action, takes it out, just rips it. Rips it between a few Florida defenders for the score. That's what we like to see. That's what we like to see. Look at this throw to Daquan Wright, 30 yards, get them down to the Florida 20-yard line. Beautifully floated over the Florida defender. Daquan Wright, really nice catch, and they're able to control it through the ground as well. He had the ball in one hand. I thought when he originally caught the ball, that when he braced himself, he was going to drop it, but able to hold on to it, able to keep hold of it, and able to pick up a first down. Then he got a second 11 run. This is what we talked about, the running ability from Jackson Dart. 20-yard run on a second and 11, just running it up the middle. Pocket breaks down around him like we talked about before. Pocket breaks down around him. Jackson Dart's more than capable of making plays with his feet when asked upon. The only thing that concerns me or scares me with Jackson Dart, and I appreciate it as well. I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't appreciate it, because your teammates, as a quarterback, your teammates love you when you're more than just a quarterback, when you're willing to absorb contact, take hits, even get, distribute hits. But there's also a threshold you have to reach where, like, hey, I'd like you to slide every once in a while because you are the quarterback. There's only one of you on the field. So I would like you to slide rather than dive forward every time. Again, I appreciate the effort. I'm sure his teammates appreciate the effort. The coaches don't. The coaches want Jackson Dart to slide because we've talked about this before. It's not the first time where we talked about him sliding or not sliding. He's always trying to initiate contact or trying to run over people. Like, I think it was against Arkansas a couple weeks ago where he tried to run over somebody. And yeah, you just don't want him to do that. I love the effort. I love the mindset in there that you're more than a quarterback, that you're also a football player, but you need to slide because you're a starting quarterback. You're one of the best quarterbacks in college football. I would like you to slide. From a selfish one. But then you look at a couple of plays later on 1st and 20, able to float it into Caden Lee for 23 yards between different Florida defenders. I know they're not directly on Caden Lee, but they're all in the area. So you got to be able to float that into the bucket of Caden Lee rather than lead him upfield or throw it short, because if you were off by even a little bit, that could lead to a pass breakup or an interception. So very nice technique from Jackson Dart to float it in there to Caden Lee, who's able to pick up more yards after making the catch for a first down on 1st and 20 after a holding call. And then now we get to the interesting part. In the blog post you can read, I said I called this game interesting because I've never seen anything really like it. Because Jackson Dart, up until the last 2 drives of the game, I thought was playing as close to perfect as he could. Jackson Dart looked really, really good. Running the ball, throwing the ball. You talk about the deep ball to Trey Harris. You talk about the couple passes to Watkins, Caden Lee, and all those passes. Like, those great plays. Sorry. But you turn that around, you look at the last minute and 40 of the game, and he technically throws 2 interceptions, but he threw 3 interceptions, one on back-to-back plays, pretty much. So you look at the first one, 1st and 10, a minute 38 left in the game. He throws it down the field, middle of the field, triple coverage. And not like we talked about with Trey Harris with double coverage. Trey Harris had a step on the defenders. This throw to triple coverage, he was trying to hit Wells in the end zone. Wells is behind all 3 of the Florida defenders. If you watch the play develop at the beginning, you could see all of Florida's defenders shift to the left side of the formation, left side for Ole Miss's formation. If he throws to the opposite side of the field, he's got a receiver on an island. He can either throw it back shoulder, he could try and lead him upfield, doesn't matter. I would rather you take the one-on-one matchup on an island with everybody drifting to the left side of the field rather than throw it to Wells in the end zone trying to score a touchdown. Not every throw needs to be a touchdown. Like, there's a back shoulder opportunity there for the outside receiver, but he just throws it down the middle of the field. He made his mind up before the play started, because you're looking at, like two high safeties. You got the slot receiver, and you're trying to get him sucked out of the middle of the field, and you try to get your receiver down that gap between the safeties, but no one cleared out. They all just sucked into that one spot, and it just was an easy interception. Then you look at the next drive of the game, 42 seconds left. He has a very nice pass to Caden Lee to kick it off. 19-yard pass to get him across the 50-yard line, lobs it right over the defender's outstretched arm and everything. But then the next play, at the 29-second mark, he steps up into a throw and throws it up the field while the receiver cuts it off a few yards, and he gets picked off. But they're handed a bone. Like, hey, you know what? He dropped the ball, bobbled the interception, not a completed interception, so we're going to give you another chance. The next play, the very next play, he throws another interception. Steps into the pocket. He's got a couple defenders around him, steps him in the pocket. Receiver, I don't know if he cuts his route off or that's where his route was supposed to end, or Jackson Dart was just trying to throw it away and just throw it in the general vicinity of a receiver. But it lands right into the bucket of a Florida defender. Back-to-back plays, back-to-back drives with interceptions. He had a massive, was not very happy, let's just put it like that, on the sideline. He was not the happiest camper on the sideline after the the second interception, but then that got called back in the very next play through another interception. So that's where it gets kind of interesting, because I don't know if I've ever actually seen that before, where you have a quarterback throw three interceptions on back-to-back drives damn near a minute apart. I don't know if I've ever actually seen that. And the freak out afterwards was not really expected either. I saw a lot of people making fun of him on Twitter. I saw some players from Florida even posting him on their Instagram stories and stuff like that. Like, he obviously he was upset after the LSU game, talking about how he didn't expect, how they lost that game and stuff like that. But the game after Florida, with the game he had going into that last two drives of the game, it was kind of surprising to see those kind of throws, but they happen. You're just going to have to be able to bounce back from that, but it definitely throws a little wrench in Ole Miss's playoff hopes. Definitely does. But this game against Mississippi State, who has the worst passing defense in the SEC, I expect Jackson Dart to light the world alight, pretty much. I expect him to actually go scorched earth against Mississippi State in this game. He didn't have the greatest game against them last year. I think he threw 96 yards or something like that. But I expect him to have an absolute great game in this rendition of the Egg Bowl. So, hey, head up, move on to the next one. But he moves in at number 8. I thought he had a really good game up until those last two interceptions. Number 7 is Quinn Ewers. Shocker, he might be hurt for the next game against Texas A&M. Haven't heard anything yet, but or seen anything. I shouldn't say heard anything, like I got insiders and stuff like that. I haven't seen anything, but shocker, he's hurt again. But in this game against Kentucky, 191, 2 touchdowns, 20 of 31 in the game, and a 31-14 win. 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on the season. Good game from Quinn Ewers. Nothing like out of this world stuff or anything, but hey, you look at the first drive of the game. This one thing that Quinn Ewers has over some of these quarterbacks, would you say most of them? I would probably say most of them. I would wager most of them. I think Quinn Ewers probably has the quickest release out of the quarterbacks in this draft class. If he's not the top, he's definitely top 3 in this draft class. And you look at the first drive of the game on 3rd and 11, trying to hit hitting Matthew Golden on 3rd and 11 for a 19-yard gain. Matthew Golden runs a hitch route, and Quinn Ewers throws this ball, starts letting this ball go before Golden's even entered his break. And as Golden cuts back towards his break, Ewers has very good ball placement as well, throwing it on his outside shoulder, with the Kentucky defender coming back on the inside, throwing it on the outside shoulder, telling him basically reverse out, and you're able to pick up more yards up the field. Just a very well-placed ball, and also great awareness from Matthew Golden, knowing that his quarterback's going to get him the ball out quick. So having his hands there, because there's been numerous times where a quarterback gets the ball out that quick, and the receiver's not ready for it, and they don't even throw their hands up or anything. So Matthew Golden deserves some credit on that one as well. You look at this one later in the game, the second quarter, about the 9:30 mark, floats a nice ball into Isaiah Bolden. We talk about the throw with Jackson Dart to Caden Lee between four Florida defenders. Got 4 Kentucky defenders in the general vicinity. He almost didn't get enough on it. To be 100% honest, it almost got broken up by the Kentucky defender who got an outstretched arm to it. But, hey, floated right in between a few Kentucky defenders. Again, you might not have 4 defenders directly on top of Isaiah Bond, but with those 4 defenders in the general vicinity, it gives you a lot less room to work with rather than him just being wide ass open, because you can't afford to miss him short, because if he misses him short, then the ball's getting broken up or it's getting tipped up in the air and someone's catching it and picked off or whatever. If he throws it a little too long, maybe it's incomplete. Maybe it lands in the safety's lap as well. Like, you got to be careful with those kind of things. Like, you're like, oh, he's open. Like, yeah, he's open, but he's not open at the same time, if that makes any sense. He might be open as a receiver, but as a quarterback, you got to be able to circumnavigate that general vicinity and float it in with enough touch to fit it into him. Then you have a nice 17-yard touchdown pass to Gunnar Helm. Again, very smart throw from Ewers. We talk about the throw to the outside from Matthew Golden. He comes on the hitch, throws it to his outside shoulder, turns him upfield. You look at this throw to Gunnar Helm. There's a safety over top, but he's on the left side, or the right side of the formation, sorry. Gunnar Helm's route is carrying him into the path of that safety. So Ewers, smartly, when the safety sees that Ewers is throwing to Gunnar Helm, he cuts back to the left. Or to his right, I guess, to the Texas left, his right. If Ewers throws it to where Gunnar Helm's route's taking him, the defender's picking it off. He is. That's the matter of fact. He's just picking it off. So Ewers throws it more in a line, making Gunnar Helm kind of straighten out his route a little bit, rather than trying to lead him towards where his route's originally taking him. That's a very smart throw. It's a very savvy throw from Ewers. And he gets it over two defenders and two Kentucky defenders before getting it over to Ewers. You have a guy even jumping up trying to break it up. I appreciate the effort. I do appreciate the effort from the Kentucky defender, even though he had no chance in hell at breaking the pass up. But yeah, with the safety over top coming in late, if he does, again, lead him into that, if he leads him where his route is taking him, then the pass is either getting broken up or Gunnar Helm's getting his head taken off. There's a very minimal chance that he actually comes down with the ball if he leads him to where his route's actually taking him. So again, leading him back upfield, throwing it more down the field rather than out or in, I guess, because he's coming from the left hash. So be more in. But just a good throw. Just a good throw. He did have a couple fumble issues in this game. He bobbled a snap later. Thankfully, he was able to throw it out of bounds. He also had a fumble interception type thing that was returned for a touchdown. Why I say fumble interception type thing? Because it was stripped, but he still tried to push it downfield, but the ball fell out of his hands while he was pushing it downfield, so you could kind of just go whatever with it. It was ruled a fumble, not an interception. But yeah, I think he played well. Minus the two fumbles that he had in the game, I thought he played well. I thought he played better in this game than he did last week against Arkansas. So that's a plus. And this week against Texas A&M, like we brought up before, I don't know if he's going to play. I'm sure the Texas A&M fans would love to see him play. But I'm sure there's also a route where they're like, man, Arch Manning coming into Kyle Field, man, we haven't seen this game in a long-ass time. So I'm excited for this game. As a neutral, very, very excited. But we'll have to wait and see if Ewers plays. I think it's an ankle injury. I think they said it's an ankle injury that could require off-season surgery that could rule him out for the rest of the season. We'll have to wait and see on that. But you can't sit here and tell me you're not surprised, because I'm not surprised. I'm not. I would actually be more surprised if Ewers was able to go 4 or 5 games in a row without getting hurt. That's how I'm kind of seeing this at this point. Maybe that's bad, but yeah, he's coming in number 7. I thought he played well against Kentucky. Number 6 is Carson Beck. 4 touchdowns. Second highest touchdown total he's had so far this season. Obviously threw 5 against Tennessee Tech earlier in the year. Also had 297 yards, 5 rushing yards as well in the game. Back-to-back games, no turnovers, no interceptions, sorry. So that's a plus, but I have a hard time looking at these types of games where like Jalen Milroe against Mercer and then Carson Beck against Massachusetts. Massachusetts played 3 SEC teams this year. They played Missouri at home somehow, and then they got Mississippi State, and then they have Georgia. Like, I don't know what UMass has in regards to how much money they need to keep the program alive, because playing 3 SEC schools, you're going to make some serious bread because you're not expected to win any of those games. They did have a decent game. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago against Liberty. They lost 35-34, so that was impressive for them. But, yeah, there's not really a lot to talk about. I thought Carson Beck played well. I thought he played well. You look at his first touchdown throw that he had to Dominic Lovett. Like, this is a very, very nice... this was later in the game. Because his first touchdown was just like a little check down, if I'm not mistaken, to Lawson Lucky for a 15-yard touchdown. So if I'm not, or no, Oscar Delp, not Lawson Lucky. But this throw to Dominic Lovett, very nice fade ball, going over the shoulder of the outstretched defender. Like, very good job by Lovett at tracking the ball as well, as we really like to see. He also had a very nice throw to Cole Spear in between a couple defenders, like we talked about earlier. with the two defenders in the general area, Spear running up the sideline, safety over top, defender coming in late. You got to put it on him. And Spear does a very nice job at going up and getting the ball, and while also controlling the ball through the hit as well, because he took a nice little shot in there as well. We also have a very decent throw to Arian Smith, a nice little pump fake in there. He's just open, so don't miss him. It's not like an amazing throw or anything, a little bit underthrown, but hey, again, when you have a receiver open, just don't miss him, and they'll walk it into the end zone, and he did that. At halftime in this game, I want to see he had 3 incompletions and 4 touchdowns. Like, that's what we like to see. Those are the type of things we like to see from Carson Beck in games like this. Like, they might have allowed 20 points to Massachusetts, but they scored 59. No turnovers from Carson Beck. 4 touchdowns all in the first half to 4 different receivers, if I'm not mistaken. So you have Lawson Lucky, Dominic Lovett, Cash Jones, and Arian Smith. I think Cash Jones was the third one. If I'm not, I can't remember exactly. Maybe it was the second one. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, very solid game from Carson Beck. Against Massachusetts, you expect to have solid games against them, but that's all fine and dandy. You have to do that as well. Like, if you have a game like that, I want you to put up 4 touchdowns. I want you to have almost 300 yards or more than 300 yards in these types of games. And he did that. And no turnovers. Big. Prove you're better than the little teams. Like, that's what, like, go out there and have fun. I want you to stop playing in the third quarter. I think he stopped playing in the fourth quarter, but regardless, I want you to stop playing early. And not because of injury. And not because you got benched. I want to see you get rested for the next game. He's obviously got Georgia Tech, which is a game he didn't really have the most success in last year, like we brought up with Jackson Dart, Mississippi State. Carson Beck didn't have the greatest game last year against Georgia Tech. He had a near interception earlier in the game where a guy got flipped up on a defender's foot, if I'm not mistaken. And he threw an interception in the red zone. Like, I think he had 130-something yards in the game. I can't remember exactly, but I expect him to play better. He's playing better these past 2 weeks than he has in the previous, 5 weeks previously. So that's positive to see. But Georgia Tech, they're a scary team. They obviously beat Miami. They're not the greatest team of all time, but they could cause some problems. So hope they don't sleepwalk through that game. But Carson Beck, good game against Massachusetts. Next on this list is Drew Aller from Penn State. 26-25 win against Minnesota. No one should be surprised by how this game went. Minnesota's a very up and down team this year. They kind of play up to their competition, play down to their competition at the same time. If they're playing bad teams, they play down to them. If they're playing good teams, they play up. This is an example of them playing up. They have a very solid passing defense. They have a very solid offense when everything's clicking. Darius Taylor and Max Brosmer at quarterback. They're very solid backfield duo. But Penn State was able to come out on top. They have a couple 4th down conversions on their last drive of the game to seal the game. They have the fake punt. They have the quarterback sneak, if I'm not mistaken. They have the throw to Tyler Warren in there as well. As for Aller, though, I thought he played really well. I thought Drew Aller put forth a very solid performance in this game. You look at the one touchdown in the game to Omari Evans, 45-yard touchdown. Love to see it. That's called a dick measuring throw, because look at how effortless it is. He just cocks back and just lobs it over to Evans. Great throw, easy throw. Defender has to step on the defender. Easy touchdown. Lobs it right in there, 45-yard touchdown. Get him up early. Or no, bring the game back to within 3. Sorry, I got the score wrong. Bring him back to within 3. Had a very nice back shoulder throw to Tyler Warren as well. Get them down to the Minnesota 10-yard line. He's up the seam. I guess a little bit outside the seam, but we'll count it all the same. And yeah, because back shoulder throws, you know me, I'm a sucker for back shoulder throw. And even though it wasn't on the sideline, it was still a very good throw to Tyler Warren. And then we talked about the 4th down, another throw to Tyler Warren. I'm getting all my throws mixed around. But you got 3rd and 10, 23-22 with 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They would end up getting a field goal on this drive, but it could have been a touchdown. Drew Aller placed a really nice ball to Tyler Warren in the end zone, covered up on a true freshman. You saw him on an island against a true freshman, seeing they're playing zone or man coverage, and you see the number 1 tight end in the country, arguably, against a true freshman. You like that matchup. So with Drew Aller getting pressure in his face, he's able to just lob it up to Tyler Warren, who was almost able to make a really nice catch, but just falls right through his hands. Then later in the game, 4th and 1, 27 seconds left, up by 1. Aller rolls out to the right, cuts back to the left, and just lobs up to Tyler Warren, who just smartly gets down inbounds. They're able to route the clock and come away with the win. So yeah, not too surprised the game went how it did, because Maryland's a very solid football team, or Minnesota's a very solid football team. Maryland, on the other hand, is not. And that's who the Penn State and Nittany Lions play this weekend. They're not great defensively. They're bad against the run, even worse against the pass. They don't get after the quarterback. I expect Penn State to have little to no problems in this game back at home against Maryland. Number 4 on this list is Jalen Milroe. He dropped down one spot because I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I did not think there was a chance in hell Oklahoma was winning this game. I didn't think there was a chance Oklahoma was winning. I really didn't. Because Oklahoma was, 5-5? They won one game in their last 5, and that was against Maine. Their previous win against an FBS opponent came all the way back in September. There was not an iota of a thought in me that said, oh yeah, Alabama's going to struggle on the road. Yes, I know Oklahoma's got a tough stadium to play in, especially at night. I understand that. But there was not a single part of me that thought Oklahoma was actually going to beat Alabama. There wasn't. The game against LSU, they looked great running the football. Jalen Miller, 185 yards rushing. Against Mercer, they had a very easy game last week. Did that ease them into this week? I don't know. I just did not think Oklahoma would have a chance in this game. Milroe, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns in this game. He did have a very nice pass to Jeremy Bernard for a 32-yard game up the middle of the field. In between 3 Oklahoma defenders. Don't know what the safety was doing. He really didn't really pay attention to Jeremy Bernard on the play. Didn't really react to him running right past him. But, hey, you know what? That's whatever. But Jalen Milroe picked up on a screen pass, which you can't really give him too much flack on the screen pass because the receiver on the outside before he threw it to Ryan Williams really did absolutely nothing to block the defender on that play. And then you got another interception later, just read like a freaking book. And Milroe, I can't really defend this. It's one of the worst tackle attempts I've ever seen. I don't even want to call it a tackle attempt. He tried to slide tackle him. Just come on. Just try to hit him. Even if you just push him out of bounds, why are you slide tackling? This isn't soccer. This is the SEC. I thought this meant more. You're slide tackling? Come on. He obviously whiffed on it. Oklahoma was able to return it for a touchdown. And then you have a beautiful throw to Ryan Williams. That would have been a 36-yard touchdown. On the run, Oklahoma defender's in his face, and he's able to throw a beautiful ball. Beautiful catch from Ryan Williams. We talked about Ryan Williams' body control for being a 17-year-old. It's very damn impressive. But illegal touching penalty because he was covered up on the line of scrimmage. So it ended up not counting. I believe they ended up punting on that drive. And then later in the game in the fourth quarter, 7 minutes left, Milroe gets hit. Ball shoots straight up in the air. Easy interception for Oklahoma. Yeah, it's one of the most helpless feelings you have as a quarterback when you get hit while you're throwing it. The ball just pops straight up in the air. And all you can do is watch it. That sucks. But I did not see this game coming. I really didn't. I did not think there was a chance Oklahoma would win this game. And maybe that's wrong on me. Maybe the SEC heads out there can correct me and go well, you should have saw the writing on the wall in this game. I know Alabama's not the same Alabama they have been in years past. But this is not an Oklahoma team that's the same Oklahoma team in years past. This Oklahoma team stinks. So I was shocked to see this. This is the worst Alabama's been since Nick Saban's first year as head coach. First year. They're 8-3 now. One would think that their playoff chances are all undone, but you know how much the ESPN, the College Football Playoff Committee, loves themselves from Alabama. They'll probably figure out a way to squeeze them into the playoff. God, I hate it, but that's probably what's going to happen. A 3-loss Alabama team because, man, if they played a Big 10 schedule or a Big 12 schedule, they'd be undefeated right now. It's I don't care. Ifs, buts, and maybes. What's the old saying? If my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bike. Who cares? That has no bearing on anything. I don't care what their record would be if they're in the Big 10 or the Big 12. The fact of the matter is they're 8-3. They lost to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt. That's it. That's the ifs, ands, buts, maybes. I don't care. And they got blasted by Oklahoma. 24-3. Jalen Milroe, 3 interceptions in the game. Not ideal. But, yeah, he comes in at number 4. Number 3 is Garrett Nussmeier. I thought he played really well. If we're talking about best games he's had this season, this might be up there. This might be the best game he's had all season. Then you look at the stat line, 332 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. But he worked the field. He did a very good job working the field. One thing Garrett Nussmeier is very good at doing is staying calm in the pocket, but able to get outside and make solid throws while outside the pocket, whether it's rolling out to his left or rolling out to his right. He's able to keep plays alive, even though he's not necessarily the most athletically gifted quarterback out there. He's not a horrific athlete or anything, but he's far from the greatest too. But you look at this play to Mason Taylor for a 24-yard gain on 3rd and 9. Pocket breaks down around him. He's able to step up, and once he steps up, he's able to get outside, breaking an arm tackle as well, throwing it down the field to Mason Taylor. I don't know what the defender's doing in the area. To be 100% honest with you, I have no idea what he's doing. because he could have probably broken it up, but he didn't. So we can't, again, it's butts and maybes. Then a little bit later in the third quarter, we have a beautiful throw to Aaron Anderson for a 21-yard gain. Again, safety over top. You've got to place it in a bucket. Can't lead him too far upfield. And he did take a little bit of a shot after the play, but not after he made the catch. But great job reeling the ball in. Great throw from Nussmeier. Get a nice gain in there. A little bit later, steps up in the pocket while getting hit. Delivers a beautiful 24-yard pass to C.J. Daniels to get them down all the way to the 12-yard line on 4th and 4. Just an absolute strike. Steps up in the pocket, avoids pressure, and just delivers it. Fires it down the middle of the field for not a touchdown, but a very nice play. And then he got touchdown to Kyron Lacey. All arm action. Back foot. Just throws it with his arm. Kyron Lacey wide open in the end zone, 12-yard touchdown. Very nice to see. He had a near touchdown to Aaron Anderson later in the game. Floated in beautifully to the back of the end zone, but Anderson wasn't able to bring it in. I think the ground caused it to get jar loose a little bit on it. But again, defender jumping in his face, still able to deliver a very, very, very nice ball to the back corner of the end zone. Just unfortunate it didn't count. That's like the second or third time this season where he's had a perfect ball to the corner of the end zone that ended up not counting because they couldn't bring it in all the way. But you have another ball to Kyron Lacey down the right sideline. 21-yard gain. Helps see out the game in the process, which one thing LSU has really struggled with is seeing out games. But they were able to close out the game in the final drive and come up with a nice 24-17 win against Vanderbilt. Get off the snide a little bit. Again, 3 straight losses to A&M, Alabama, and Florida. Not great. Their playoff chances were up here. My hand's up very high right now if you can't see it. Against A&M, especially after the first half. And then it was down because he lost. They got ass blasted by Bama. It was down again. And they lost to Florida. It was gone. He had a chance to make the SEC championship game, and they just kept going down. But this is a nice way to get off the snide a little bit. Nussmeier played really, really well. So, yeah, I had to raise him up one spot given the fact, again, I didn't think Oklahoma would beat Alabama, and Milroe throwing 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. That I can't keep him at number 3 in good conscience. Maybe having Nussmeier 3 is a little high for some people, but I thought he played really, really well this past weekend. Number 2 is Shedeur Sanders. I know at face value, people are like, oh, Colorado lost to Kansas. This shouldn't be shocking to anybody. If you watched Kansas the past 3 weeks, that shouldn't be a surprise at all. They beat Iowa State. They beat BYU. Now they beat Colorado. They beat BYU at BYU. They're shaking up everything in the Big 12 right now. Everything in the Big 12. Jalen Daniels is playing well. Devin Neal's playing freaking crazy right now at running back. Like, they're just the upset merchants. I don't know what's their exact record. Are they 5-6 right now? I can't remember the exact record, but they're not only trying to fight for bowl eligibility, if they still are, they could only have 4 wins. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. But not only are they fighting for bowl eligibility, they're fighting to ruin everybody else's seasons. They're causing chaos. They're an agent of chaos, as the Joker would say in The Dark Knight. Agent of chaos. That's Kansas right now. And at Arrowhead Stadium, 37-21 win against Colorado. Shedeur Sanders, 3 touchdowns in the game. Pretty efficient game. Did take a nasty-ass hit to the legs later in the game, I guess I should say. But you look at his touchdown pass to Draylon Miller, 19-yard score. Comes out of the backfield. You see you got safety comes over to help with Travis Hunter on the outside. Slot receiver takes out the 2 defenders in the middle. And you got Draylon Miller, a wide receiver, lined up in the backfield, 1-on-1 against a linebacker. Like, that's an easy pass, but for Shedeur Sanders, not able to get a ton on it. But he does get hit while he lets the ball go. Not a bunch, but hey, it's just little bits that can throw off passes. But Draylon Miller, great catch in the end zone for the score. You also have a very nice throw to Travis Hunter with another defender in his face. Floats it, like we talked about, between 2 Kansas defenders. Can't lead him upfield. Can't throw it too short. You got to just throw it right on him. And Travis Hunter's able to make a play. Safety drops back into coverage, just floats it right in there. And he's able to make a play for a touchdown. Like, it wasn't the greatest game of all time. Obviously, losing 37-21 on the road is not great. But I fully expect Colorado to bounce back against Oklahoma State on Friday, Black Friday. Oklahoma State's 0-8 in conference play. It sucks that you had to lose to Kansas, but again, I'm not shocked by this. I'm not even really going to say anything negative about Colorado because this is what Kansas has been doing the past 3 weeks. Again, Iowa State, BYU, Colorado, 3 straight weeks, 3 teams competing for Big 12 titles or trip to the Big 12 championship game, and also a trip to the college football playoff. 3 games Kansas has won. So if you were shocked by this, I can't help you because you haven't watched Kansas recently. I'm not saying Kansas is the greatest world team of all time, but they're on smoke right now. They're on smoke right now. But Shedeur Sanders, 20-3 of 29, 266, 3 touchdowns. Also 26 yards on the ground as well. Picked up a couple first downs with his legs. But, yeah, he comes in at number 2. Number 1, Cam Ward. Typical Miami game, I guess you could say. They ended up winning 42-14, but it was close pretty much the entire game until the fourth quarter, and then Miami started pulling away a little bit. But 2 touchdowns in the game for Cam Ward. Also had an interception. I don't want to say he was trying to do too much on the interception. I guess you could kind of justify him doing a little too much. Maybe, if that's what you want to call it. You could make an argument for that. But it was a set up tight end screen, Elijah Arroyo, and he broke a couple tackles in the backfield, tried to flip it to his tight end, but I don't think Arroyo was really ready for it. I don't think he expected the ball at that point with the play kind of broken down, and he kind of just tossed it right to a Wake Forest defender. They made a nice little interception. They just covered it really well. They had the pressure in the backfield really easily. The defender that was pressuring up the middle dropped back and guarded Arroyo. Like, it was very well defended by Wake Forest, so I can't really sit here and act like it was the throw against Duke or the throw against Cal where he's throwing it all the way across his body, like in those types of situations, or trying to do too much like he did against Georgia Tech where he fumbled the ball at the end of the game. I wouldn't put it up there with that, but I could see an argument for that being the case. But he did have 2 touchdowns in this game as well. His first touchdown was to Jacoby George. Nice 13-yard ball. Out route, near hash, far pylon. Great throw. 13 yards out. Just single cover. It was the exact same play pretty much as Riley Leonard's touchdown against Army. It was pretty much the exact same play. Like, you look at the formation, no safeties high. They follow the slot receiver inside. He's got one-on-one coverage. Corner's playing very far back. The corner's playing 7 yards back. Like, the corner's very far back, and you have no safety help over top. So, yeah, I'm going there every single time. It didn't really take a brainiac to figure that one out. It was the exact same play as Riley Leonard's touchdown. And then you have a nice little throw down the middle of the field to George again, who makes a very nice catch while also taking a shot. Like, just a very solid game. Nothing spectacular. I mean, he made a couple good throws throughout the game, but also had a rushing touchdown in there as well. I believe, yeah, he had a quarterback sneak in the game as well. But it was a game, 280, 2 touchdowns. This weekend, Miami's taking on Syracuse. So maybe we could see a game where they run the ball a little bit more. I don't know 100% on what their goal could be in this game. But, yeah, nice win against Wake Forest. Not the greatest game of all time, but they definitely got, like, the defense. Wake Forest had a 17-play drive, and then they turned the ball over, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the type of things this game was on. Like, it was just a very, if you look at the scoreline, you're like, oh, Miami blew them out. It was like, no, they did, but not really at the exact same time. It's just a typical Miami game. Coming on top, Cam Ward, good game, not great, but he comes in at number 1 this week. So recapping the top 10, we have got Riley Leonard at number 10. Him and Notre Dame will be taking on USC on the road, so that should be a very fun game on Saturday. Number 9, we got Curtis Wark moving down one spot. Him and Indiana will take on Purdue at home at night. Then Jackson Dart comes in at number 8. Him and Ole Miss will be taking on Mississippi State on Black Friday. Should be a fun one there. Hopefully he has a absolute crazy performance against the Bulldogs. Number 7 is Quinn Ewers. You don't know he's going to play this week, but Texas will be taking on A&M on the road in Kyle Field. Number 6 is Carson Beck. Him and Georgia will be taking on Georgia Tech on Friday, Black Friday, obviously when this is coming out. Number 5, Drew Aller. Penn State will be taking on Maryland this week, and I expect Drew Aller to have a really good game this week. Jalen Milroe comes in at number 4. Him and Alabama will be taking on Auburn. That's always a really, really fun game. Remember last year's Auburn-Alabama game? The game was freaking awesome. I hope we get similar stuff this year. Number 3, Garrett Nussmeier. Him and LSU will be taking on Oklahoma. Hopefully they put up a better performance than Alabama did this past weekend. It's at home, so we'll have to wait and see on that. Shedeur Sanders comes in at number 2. Him and Colorado will be taking on Oklahoma State on Black Friday. Number 1, Cam Ward. Him and Miami again will be taking on Syracuse in, is they still called the Carrier Dome or is it something different now? I can't really remember, but that's all I've got for you on this week 13 quarterback prospect rankings for the Logan Blackman Show, the quote-unquote draft expert. Hope you liked the video. If you did not, I sincerely apologize. Make sure to check out the blog post in the description down below. Check out all the social media accounts and podcast links as well. As always, I've been Logan Blackman. Hope you enjoyed. If you didn't, I sincerely apologize. Try to be better next time. And I will see you guys later. Peace.